All right, greetings, algebra. Back with video number 3. Got another equation up here. I'm going to go through this quick again. Solve by using the quadratic formula. You have that written down from the previous 2 videos, hopefully. Now, I'm just going to start right away by substituting in. A is 3. B is -4. C is 7. So now we substitute that into our quadratic formula. X equals the opposite of B plus or minus the square root of B squared minus 4 times A times C all over 2A. X equals 4 plus or minus the square root. This is going to be 16 minus, what is that, 12 times 7, which is going to be 84. 16 minus 84, all over 6. So this ends up being X equals 4 plus or minus the square root of -68 all over 6. All right, now we need to plug this into our calculator. Square root of -68. Second square root, -68. What the heck? Oh, you can't. Negative what? Wait, a negative times a negative is a positive. A positive times a positive is a positive. So what number times itself is -68? You can't. There's no real number that you can find that you multiply by itself and you get a -68. What happens? I get a negative number underneath the radical sign, underneath the square root sign. No real number. There's no real number as the solution. Remember, if we graph the parabola, sometimes the parabola doesn't cross the x-axis. This parabola looks like this. It's up here. When does this cross the x-axis? Never. That's why there's no real number as a solution. So sometimes you get this far, there's no solution. Just like when you were graphing and you could say there was no solution. Okay? Underneath the square root sign, that number has a specific name. It's called the discriminant. So when you have the quadratic formula, let's write it again. There's our quadratic formula. This part right here is called the discriminant. Discriminant. It will tell you how many x-intercepts there are. If this number is negative, how many times does it cross the x-axis? 0! It's not going to. There's no real number solutions. In the previous 2 examples, that number was positive. If it's a 25, the square root is 5 or -5. You're going to get 2 real number solutions. If this number in here is 0, well, what's the square root of 0? It's only 0. You're only going to get 1 solution. So the discriminant will tell you how many solutions it has. Basically, if you're doing this and you get a positive number in here, you're going to get 2 solutions. If you're doing the quadratic formula, you get a negative number in there, no solutions. You're doing this quadratic formula, you get a 0 in there, 1 solution. All right, let's have you do another example with the quadratic formula. Hint, something's going to happen where you might not be able to solve it. Here's your equation. 4x squared minus 2x plus 5 equals 0. Solve this using the quadratic formula.